Welcome to C-Fan Sports, the sports show that is dedicated to the Seattle sports fan. My name is Dave. This is Kevin. Kevin, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Well, I mean, as good as you can be after having a really bad week.
After a hard week. Excellent. Yeah. All right, Kevin, before we get going, please leave comments for us down below. Subscribe if you're new here. Make sure that you give us thumbs up, give us thumbs down, and Kevin always says no. Make sure you turn those notifications on so that you can know when we drop a brand new video, please. All right, Kevin, let's get into it. I have a bone to pick with Seattle Mariner fans.
Yes, me too.
We were all up in arms in the trade last week that sent Kendall Graveman to the Houston Astros for Abraham Toro and the pitcher Joe Fisher, right?
Joe Smith.
Sorry. Joe Fisher is off as a frequent commenter, and it just gets me all messed up. Yeah. So we have this trade that happened last week, and everybody was up in arms. Jerry DiPoto doesn't know what he's doing. Jerry DiPoto, I can't believe he came out of nowhere and made this trade with our hated rival. And I was in the same, when I heard it, Kevin and I actually were on the phone and we were mad. Oh, we were throwing things and kicking kittens, and it was not good.
Not good.
But then when I took an actual look at the trade and I actually broke it down and took a look at what we had received, Jerry DiPoto, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. He said he was going to get rid of assets that were no longer going to be with the club long term, and he's going to bring back assets that are going to be under club control, and that's exactly what he did. With the exception of Tyler Anderson, that is exactly what it is, but Tyler Anderson is going to get us out of those accursed bullpen days.
Yes.
Mariner fans, understand that this is not going to be built in a day. This rebuild is a long-term fix. This is going to be something so that we're not in contention for a year and then have to tear it all down again. I don't want that. I don't want to be one of the Florida teams that builds it up real quick and dumps all this money into payroll and then sells everything off the next year. It's, to me, is not successful. Look at what Houston has done over a long time. They built up their farm system. They made smart trades. They have a lot of players under club control, and then they went out and got the high-priced free agents. Sorry, Kevin, just let me finish this real quick. As much as we want to be in contention this year, we're not. If we get in the dance, if we get into a playoff game, we don't have enough experience. I'm not going to say we don't have enough horses. We don't have enough experience. These guys right now are going in their first run at the playoffs, and they're getting that experience. If you go back to Russell Wilson's rookie season, and I know I'm going to pull out a different sport, they had to have that loss in Atlanta to be able to propel them to the next season when they made it to the Super Bowl. Seattle has to go through some of these hard times and tribulations. They've got to sell off some of these Kendall Gravemans and bring back the Abraham Toros. This kid is unbelievable. Kevin, before I alienate our whole audience, tell me, how did you think about the trades?
First of all, like you said, we were both furious, man. We were just like, because Kendall Graveman's a fan favorite. I mean, we all love Kendall Graveman. He's done an outstanding job since he's been put in the bullpen last year, this year. He's just been lights out. So to lose a piece like Kendall Graveman for Joe Smith and some kid I've never even heard of before, I know you gravitated really towards the control, how many years we have under control with Abraham Toro and even the other guys, Diego Castillo that we picked up. I started digging into his track record in the minor leagues and why he wasn't playing as much as he should have been playing or hitting as well as he was hitting, it's because he was blocked. This kid has been hitting in every league. Everywhere he goes, he is a hitter. He reminds me of a lot of the other guys we've had in place. And in fact, I've read some articles about the same thing. Ty France. So some of these other guys that were blocked on other teams that could not get the quality. Terrence, that's what I was thinking of, the catcher. We got them both out of San Diego, and they were blocked. They were not starting every day. They were inconsistent, but they were consistent hitters in the minor leagues. And that is what Jerry did. He knew that this kid was blocked. He wasn't going to get the numbers. And if he could pull the trigger, they were going to do it. And in fact, they've been after this kid for 3 years.
And Houston didn't want to give him up.
No, not at all.
No, I thought, to be honest with you, I thought it was the reverse. I thought Houston was coming after Kendall Graveman to get, their bullpen more secure. But in fact, it was the complete opposite. Dipoto was coveting Torres, and he made sure that he went after this kid and offered something, a package good enough that we would be able to get him and get, and Graveman at the end of the season is going to be due for a large payday. And guess what, Kevin? By that time, we might be in that position. We may have taken a run and may be a reliever short, and he might become right back. That's the amazing thing about this. We, at the end of this season or at the beginning of next season, could end up with Kendall Graveman in a 2 or 3 year contract and be ready for him at that point.
Yeah,
and still get Abraham Toro.
We also talked about it. Next year, we have 2 guys on the IR right now that are lights out pitchers. I mean, they are high velocity closers. I don't want to trade, Kendall Graveman either, but we were after Toro, and they were actually after Montero.
Yeah.
And and we wanted Toro. So that's the reason we ended up getting Joe Smith and they got Kendall Graveman. It was because we had to do something, and it kind of happened to happen on that certain day. Otherwise, Montero was going to get.
Exactly. I mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, he did exactly the moves that he needed to make at that particular time. Was it good optics? No. It was horrible optics. We came off of this really high of this huge game against Houston where we had that huge comeback, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But the simple fact is that we had this great high, and then boom, it's just like the air was let out of everybody, and we didn't understand. But unfortunately, we're not building a World Series competitive team. Jerry Dipoto is, and he's making the hard moves. He's not making moves to make me happy short term, but he is going to make us happy long term, because we're going to have a playoff window that's going to be open for longer than a season or 2, because we went out and got a bunch of rental players, or we didn't hold on to some of these players that were not under club control.
Right. And I also want to make a point about Houston's rebuild. They had, how many number 1 picks did they get for like 3 or 4 years in a row? And we haven't done that. We haven't got to the point where we lost so many games that we got a first pick. So we're building a little differently than they are, but we're still building with quality players with team control. And, Jerry Dipoto has said numerous times this summer, they're going to spend money. And there were trades that Mariners were involved with that would have brought really good players to the Seattle, but we weren't willing to get rid of our top 10 picks. And one of the things that Jerry said was our number 7 pick is like somebody else's number 2.
Right.
So when somebody says, "Oh, just throw in a number 7," well, our number 7 is their number 2. So it's a different setup, because our farm system is right now, we're number 2 or 3. So
yeah, we are playing from a strength right now. They wanted Jose Barrios, but they weren't willing to give up the pieces that they wanted. Did you see what they wanted back for Barrios? They
Oh
wanted
yeah, it was
Hancock or
insane.
Kirby, Trammell. No, sorry, you guys.
Yeah,
Hey, if we're going to build for the future and make sure that our future is long term, not a flash in the pan. I don't know about you guys, but I have enjoyed being as a Seahawks fan, being in the playoffs year after year after year because
yeah,
that team was built right.
yeah.
Yeah, we've had some hard times. We've been bounced out of the first round the last few years, but we still are in the postseason. We're still in the conversation. They're still talking about us as a great team every year.
Every year.
Every year. And I want
and
that
that's
for
what
the Mariners as well.
and that's what Mariners are trying to do. So, basically we get Kendall Graveman and Rafael Montero were traded for Joe Smith and Abraham Toro. It was really Kendall Graveman and Abraham Toro.
Yeah.
The other two guys kind of washed each other out. In fact,
Yep.
I would rather have Joe Smith than Montero this year.
Right.
And then we did pick up Tyler Anderson.
Yeah.
And
no more bullpen days. Yay!
Yeah, I was so excited. But we gave up Carter Benz, which
I know
I'm a huge fan of Carter Benz already. So
but he would have been behind, he would have been in that same situation where he would have been behind Cal Raleigh, because I think Cal Raleigh is starting to show, what he has made at the big league level. And so, Carter Benz was
was blocked.
Yeah.
Because, and honestly, there's, we have the guy that got called up in AAA. I'm drawing a blank, but we'll talk about him a little bit probably.
Right.
Anyway, so he was blocked. And we also got rid of Joaquin Tejada, which is a right-handed pitcher that was in the Arizona League or was a foreign player that hadn't really pitched in America yet. Yeah. And then we gave up JT, I can't pronounce his name, the reliever, and Austin Shenton.
I know you were upset. You liked that Austin Shenton kid.
I did. He's a third baseman. He's a local kid, and he was so excited to play for the Mariners. And Jerry said that he was the hardest one of all the players to give up was Austin Shenton, and all the trades for Diego Castillo. And those were the trades. I wasn't the most excited to get rid of some of the players that we did, but we made our team better
over
now,
yeah,
and in the future.
I agree. So as far as the three trades that we made, I think that I give in high scores on all three of them. I don't have A, B, C, or D grades. I don't. I just know that I think long term, if we take a look back at this trade deadline in 2 or 3 seasons, we're going to be like, wow, Jerry Dipoto is a wizard. And that's just how I feel. And if you guys disagree with me, leave a comment down below. Tell me I'm full of baloney.
Well, the only trade that I don't like was the last one. I'm not sold on it yet. I know we got Diego for till 2025. I understand we have team control for a while. I get that. I'm not sold that he is a closer.
Well, you just told me a second ago, Kevin, that we have 2 closers coming up, right?
We do, correct. And so that's why the only reason I'm not 100% sold on this trade is because of the fact that we gave up a couple of players that I thought had huge upside potential for a guy that's going to be around for maybe 1 to 3 years. I don't know. He might surprise the heck out of me, but at this point, that was the only trade that I wasn't the biggest fan of.
All right. Well, Kevin, since we're talking about not being big fans, let's go ahead and talk about the week that was. Look, we had a little bit of a struggle this last week. We dropped 2 out of 3 to Texas. We dropped 2 out of 3 to Houston.
Yep.
All right, Kevin, you got anything else for us on our Mariner report?
No, just, we got a lot of great things going on, and I just want to see what happens. And if we can hang in there and our team can play well, we got passed up by Toronto and New York Yankees in the second wild card spot, but by half a game apiece. So we need to keep pace with those guys. I know we got 4 games against New York coming up.
Yep.
Even if we split the series, it's better than losing. I would prefer to win the series. I prefer to win the series we're in right now. We'll see what happens.
Well,
But,
Kevin, it sounds like we have some baseball watching to do.
yes.
Again, I'm Dave. This is Kevin. Mariner Weekly's over. You guys have a wonderful week. See you here next week. Kevin, I'm out. Peace.
Peace.